Good morning and welcome to the new episode of Better Thyself. Well, who doesn't want to be creative? And creativity does not only mean writing a poem, painting a picture, making a sculpture, and so on. More often than others, we are under the impression that when we create or when we produce a work of art, it is creative. Yes, that is creative. But to confine creativity to create a work of art is a misnomer. Creativity is an attitude where in the most mundane activities, you do something new, something novel. And creative work can be a piece of music, it can be a piece of painting, it can be a piece of good bread, food, health, name it. But anything that elicits your awe and admiration, anything that sends a thrill down your spine, something different, something artistic, something novel, something absolutely out of the routine is creative. And people see more possibility than others is central to the concept of creativity. I remember Pablo Picasso once he said, others have seen what is and asked why is it. I have seen what could be and asked why not. So this concept of why not, if you can develop and then build upon that one single trait, one single characteristic can enable you become more creative. Because creativity is in fact using divergent thinking tasks. Say, the most mundane object you can take up a brick and think of the possible uses for this brick. People who can see numerous uses and diverse uses are creative. Say, if you can only think of making brick as a wall, then of course you are not creative, because that's one thing which is known to everybody. But if you can think of it in a different manner, I don't mean throwing a brick at others or breaking a glass pan. When I think of a brick, I'll think of the Taj Mahal. I'll think of the Sistine Chapel. When I think of the brain, I'll think of the man who is strong as a brick. When I think of the brick, I'll think of the bricks that made the wall of China and the pyramids of Egypt. The connectivity and novel way of thinking. If I see a brick, I'll see the stairs that lead to the success. When I see a brick, I see the strength of the man whom I see as a brick. A father, a husband, a wife, a son, a daughter, a friend, anybody who stands by you. So this is being creative. And among the 5 basic personality traits, this capacity to think divergently predicts performance on divergent thinking tasks. Everyday pursuits can be creative, provided you are able to impart them the halo, the beauty, and the charm. You have been wired to create. Basically, the drive for cognitive exploration of one's inner and outer world. When the inner and the outer world coalesce, when they come together, you become creative. Is a complex possibilities in the familiar environment. How many people going on a walk see a banana peel and either skirt it or just push it aside. But how many people have thought of the connectivity of that banana peel with the man who threw it? Why did he throw it? What was going on in his mind when he threw it absent-mindedly? Was he careless? Or was he engrossed in his thoughts? So that connectivity would lead a poet to write a poem, a psychologist to analyze his behavior, and a civic-minded person to rue and lament on his incapability to be human. So you need a creative vision. And open people just don't bring different perspective. They genuinely think and regard things as different than the average individual. Psychologists use a term binocular rivalry. Binocular rivalry is when two images are presented to each eye simultaneously, such a red patch on the right eye and the green patch on the left eye. So two different images are created. And then the images flip from one to the other. Your capacity to visualize those images and coalesce them as one increases your creativity. People see often scrambled images. They see the fused images. They report seeing this image for a longer time than it has been presented. And a creative person doesn't think that way. It is basically unintentional blindness. I didn't use the word unintentional, it's unintentional. It's a combination of intention and attention. And what happens is when you're looking at a thing, when you're focusing at a thing, you forget most of the things that had happened at the same time. Your perspective is limited. No, that's a great thing to sharpen and focus a perspective. But in case you can focus your attention on one and also have a divergent view, your creativity would be more. For example, let's imagine that you are watching a video and you're watching the story and a person comes in a gorilla costume. Now, would your attention be attracted to the gorilla costume? Or in case at the same time a Barbie doll comes, would your attention be focused on that? Now, a creative person would take into consideration all the three, the story in general, the person in the gorilla costume, and the girl in the Barbie doll. And then he will fuse that image. That act of fusion is creativity. You see, unfortunately, we close our minds. We don't keep them open. And open people have been dealt a better hand than the rest of us. You have to be open to the new experiences. And you have to be open to new perceptions. That we are not. Now, what happens is, when you can imagine what I said in the beginning, an ordinary mundane task, infuse it with the diverse possibilities, you would have a much open mind. Now imagine a cook, or a chef rather, cooking of souffle. And while cooking at souffle, he wants to make a pyramid of souffle to give it more air and more texture. That is creativity. Anybody can make souffle. Anybody can bake bread. Anybody can make muffin. But when you do that in a different manner, that is creativity. Now I'll give you an instance. My doctor and we thought that I should start taking bajra. Bajra is a sort of a millet. Now, barley rather, as a matter of fact. So when we started taking bajra, how to take it? And I have a sweet tooth. So my wife, and I don't need sugar, refined sugar. So she started, I think for the first time somebody made bajra cookies. And once a friend of ours came and we served it to him, he liked them so much that he said, okay, whatever you have, please tuck it for me and I'll go. They're out of this world. That is creativity. You think of the new way. It's a very minor thing, I'm telling you. There have been much more things. There are. When possibly, Leonardo da Vinci saw a beautiful girl and he could not understand the mystique. The result was Mona Lisa. And the mystery of Mona Lisa has not been deciphered till today. So that is one. Second is capacity to think at a different levels. You look at the murals that they are painted. Somebody was talking about the art, and I said the people who make, absolutely uneducated people who make the posters, cinema posters in India. But how creative they are. And their painting is much better than hundreds of other painters whose paintings sell for a much higher price. But they are creative. And the satisfaction that you get from being creative is different. You see, again, another thing. We always think our personality to be something rigid. As a matter of fact, the human personality is very malleable. The only thing is that we, because of our lack of perception, make it rigid. And when you can make your personality visibly malleable, openness, you will find that a small training in seeing diverse uses in mundane things would increase and heighten your perception. And you mind the word I'm using, heighten, not deepen. Because deepening is that only within you. Heightening is increasing your perceptions. So, you see, what happens? Simple. When you travel, you go to new things, and you perceive things in a different manner. You see, Bacon said long back that traveling broadens the mind, and that's a fact. Because at that time, your personality, without your thinking, without any appreciable effort, has become more malleable, and your perceptions have increased. You go to a new place, you watch how the people are working. This conscious watching makes you accept, reject, or to merge with them. That sense of the social merger makes you more creative. And you find, have you ever seen that you go to a strange place and you might be a very shy person, but go to a strange place in a different company and you would automatically want to mix up with them. And you'll find creative ways to do that. But then there's a dark side to this as well. Openness is also linked, if it's great beyond limit, to hallucination. You see, let's not forget there's a very thin line between genius and a lunatic. So, everything has its limits. When you can perceive a brick as Lord Ganesha, Lord Elephant, when you see a brick as an incarnation of God, and at the same time you can see the brick for breaking the glass houses, that is a difference. And then you become really human. So different personalities emerge from different experiences. It's very important to understand that your creativity lies in coalescing these images, these possibilities, and ensuring that the images of all these activities merge together. And that sense of being able to create a halo of sanctity and sacredness again around even the most mundane things is being creative. And that's the reason, the idol worshippers, the people who make statues, they think of them not as stone, but as gods incarnate. When the people who follow the book, like the Muslims or the Sikhs, they invest an ordinary printed book with divinity. It makes a book come alive. That is a creativity. And the transferring of that creativity, this creativity is ingrained among the religious. But if that creativity can be imparted to an object, then you are a real creative person, creative in mind, creative in thought, creative in action. It's not only the thought which matters, it's action which matters. It's how you interact that matters. So be creative in your social intercourse, and you would find that you are creative in everything. Think of mundane things in a different manner. Don't think number routine. Everything must be different. Remember what Keats said, that the chirping of the sparrows, the wafting of the wind, these are the things which waft me to the new lands. Think of different, dream of them, but not always. Be practical as well. At the same time, be creative. Be human. To be human is to be creative. And as a human being with a sense of curiosity ingrained in you, you would find that every stone that you touch would become a god. Every piece of dust that you touch would become a living particle having life, which illuminates itself and all around you. Let creativity, let perceptions be your guide, and you would be a better human being. Thank you.